Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, kids. This is still Mr. T, and we have Nabaat here, as always. And we're going to tell you kids stories. Today I brought another story from Scotland. Another story. This is the first story from Scotland, I think. So I brought a story from Scotland, and there's a folk tale called The Seal Wife. I read the story before. It was a great story. So stay tuned. We're going to narrate the story. But before anything else, I'm going to drink my tea, and we have another Nabaat here. If you haven't followed us before, here is a chai Nabaat. Nabaat is a form of sugar. It's an Iranian form of sugar, I think. And we use this this mix for everything. As a remedy for anything. If you have any problem, physical problem, mental problem, doesn't matter. You're going to get better if you just drink some chai Nabaat. So, ready? You need some Nabaat too? Okay, let's go. The Seal Wife. Long ago, on the rugged shores of Scotland, where the waves crashed against the cliffs and the winds carried the scent of salt and seaweed, there lived a lonely fisherman. His house sat on the edge of the coast, overlooking the vast and endless ocean. Though he was strong and hard-working, he had no family, no wife, and no children to greet him when he returned from the sea. He spent his days fishing and his nights listening to the wind howl through the cracks in the cottage. One evening, as he sat by the fire, he sighed and said to himself,
What a hard life it is to have no one to share it with. The sea is my only companion.
Little did he know, the sea was listening. One moonlight night, after a long day at sea, the fisherman pulled his boat onto the shore. As he walked home, something caught his eye near the rocks. A soft, golden light flickering in the distance. Curious, he stepped closer and saw a group of beautiful women dancing on the sand. They had long, flowing hair, and their laughter was as light as the wind. But what made them strange and magical was that beside each of them lay a sealskin, smooth, dark, and glistening under the moonlight. The fisherman gasped in amazement. He had heard old stories from the village elders, stories of Selkies, creatures who could shed their sealskin and become human for a short time. He watched in wonder, but as he did, a thought crept into his mind.
If I take one of those skins, the owner would not be able to return to the sea.
And so, before he could think twice, he stepped forward, took one of the sealskins, and hid it under his coat. Suddenly, the woman stopped dancing. One of them, a young woman with sea blue eyes and golden brown hair, looked around in confusion.
Where is my skin?
She whispered. Her voice trembled with panic. The others, seeing that dawn was near, quickly grabbed their own skins and leaped into the waves, disappearing beneath the water. The young woman turned to the fisherman.
Please, sir.
She begged.
I cannot go home without my skin. Give it back to me.
But the fisherman shook his head.
stay with me.
He said.
Be my wife. I have lived alone for too long.
The Selkie woman's eye filled with sorrow, but she had no choice. Without her sealskin, she was trapped on land, and so she followed him home. The fisherman and the Selkie women were married, and over time they built a life together. She was gentle and kind, and though she never smiled as brightly as before, she was a good wife. She wove nets for him, mended his clothes, and even bore him a son, a child with sea green eyes and hair as soft as sea foam. But the ocean never left her heart. Every evening, when the fisherman was away, she would walk along the shore, gazing at the waves. Sometimes she would whisper to the sea, as if calling out to someone far away. Her son, too, loved the sea. He would sit with her and ask,
Mother, why do you always watch the waves?
She would smile sadly and say,
Because the sea sings to me.
Though the years passed, the fisherman knew his wife's heart did not belong to him. No matter how kind she was, he could see the longing in her eyes, the silent ache for something lost. One day, fearing she might find the sealskin he had hidden so long ago, he decided to lock it away in a wooden chest, burying it beneath the floorboards of the cottage. He told himself,
If she never finds it, she will stay with me forever.
but the sea has a way of calling its own. One afternoon, while the fisherman...
assumed that the sea is a boy.
Maybe it's a he, I don't know. Everyone says sea is a girl, I don't know, it's a boy, or it's I don't,
This
I
is
don't
not French.
know. Okay.
We speak English.
Luciano. Maybe. French, it's something I cannot figure out. It's okay.
It's a woman in French.
That was a woman? Okay.
Yeah. But this is not French. In English, we don't assume the sea is gender.
Yeah, I think.
No
But the sea
offense to
can be a girl. Okay.
No offense to all French
Anywho,
people
but
out
the
there.
sea has a way of calling its own. One afternoon, while the fisherman was out at the sea, the young son was playing near the hearth. He had always been a curious child, and as he played, he noticed a loose floorboard beneath his feet. Prying it open, he found an old wooden chest, its lid slightly cracked. Inside was something soft and strange, a beautiful sealskin, smooth as silk and smelling of salt and seaweed. He held it up in wonder and ran to his mother.
Look, Mother! I found something hidden on the floor!
The moment she laid eyes on it, she gasped. Her hands trembled as she touched the sealskin, and tears filled her eyes.
Don't cry. My skin! My true self!
She whispered. She turned to her son, kissed his forehead, and said softly,
My dear one, I love you more than words can say. But the sea calls me home.
and with that she ran to the seashore. The wind howled as she reached the water's edge. The waves rose to greet her, crashing against the rocks. She turned one last time to see her son. Standing behind her. Her heart ached, but she knew she could not stay. She wrapped the sealskin around her shoulders, and in an instant she was no longer a woman, but a sleek, glistening sail. With one final long look, she slipped into the waves and disappeared beneath the ocean. The boy stood there, watching as the water swallowed her whole. He did not cry, he did not call out. Instead, he simply listened to the sound of the waves, the whisper of the wind, and the distant song of the seals. When the fisherman returned, he found his son sitting alone by the shore. The house was silent, the air was heavy, and he knew what had happened before a single word was spoken. His wife was gone. For days he searched the waters, calling her name, but the sea did not answer. And yet, on some nights, when the moon was full and the tide was high, the fisherman and his son would sit by the shore and watch the seals play in the surf. Among them was always one seal with golden brown fur and eyes the color of the deep sea, who would pause for just a moment, as if she remembered. Then, with a flick of her tail, she would vanish into the waves once more. Because, all stories doesn't, end like happily ever after. Sometimes you have to know that something that seems a little bit sad with a lot of sorrow, actually it is what it is, and it's not that sad. The thing is, some hearts cannot be tamed, and that true love is not about keeping someone, but about letting them be free. That's a little sad story, just like me.
Yeah, if you haven't watched the Song of the Sea, I think this is the story inspiration for that. You're going to like that animation, the animated movie, if you like this story, because that's the same story. They just added one character. There's a girl. They have a daughter too, with the son. You're going to like that too. So this is the movie recommendation for this story. Yeah, Song of the Sea.
So if you don't feel sad enough, listen to the story. You can see watch the animation too. You get much more sorrows.
Yeah.
So to the next video.
I didn't drink my tea this time.
I couldn't. I had a lot of things to read.
That makes me healthy.
Yeah.